have removed the ability. No one should be able to unmute themselves now. We actually needed to have that on so Vanessa could pray. But now that that's done, I believe we should be okay now. Hello, those of you that are back on YouTube, you should see the new stream that we're here and we're available. I see people are connecting in. We have 32 people here. 32 people here on Zoom. Okay. And just this is actually just a beautiful thing from a tech perspective, because this is something that I've been monitoring. This is something that's happening everywhere. So as everyone is using Zoom, when you have a public Zoom link, there's a couple features that you need to have turned off. One, to make sure that only the host can actually host. Otherwise, you have some things going on like what we experienced. And also it's allowing folks to unmute themselves. And so people are taking the Zoom links, they're just jumping into public meetings and harassing people, posting obscenities, sharing obscenities. We're all moving through this experience together. All right, I see folks are connecting back in. Good. Just checking to see if folks are on YouTube connecting in.
See who we have in Zoom. Elaine, I see you, and Jen, I see you, and Naz, Megan.
Okay, cool.
Tanya.
We have the new stream here. Beautiful. All right, folks are back. Hello. Yes, all is well. I see you on YouTube and Facebook. We should be on and popping as well.
It's a beautiful reminder to always, no matter what's going on in the external world, to maintain your center. We get to model that in this technological age. We get to model that in what's going on in the world right now. And it's so important that, that as we keep our spiritual practice, we keep our connection and nothing really bothers us. We just move and roll with the flow.
Absolutely. So again, the things that we want to you love. I'm laughing at your comment, Gabby. I hear you.
Some people are saying they lost their center for a second. We were like, okay, all right, let's just.
So as I said, we have our weekly prayer that's happening each week. The other piece to know about, let me share the screen. All right. The other piece to note, in addition to prayer, is we posted a blog post, and these links are all over social media. It was also sent out via email. Sermons to get you through the storm, which is really powerful, because we recognize that there was a need. Well, one, we recognize that at CSC we've been teaching how to get through the storm. Right, we've been teaching how to manage and how to maintain when things are starting to show up in your life. And so I'm just gonna actually go to this blog post so you can see it. So we go all the way back to our first year, walking without fear. Right, as so many people are living in fear and experiencing fear, we did a whole series on how to walk without fear, how not to live in that fight or flight. In 2015, the Renew Your Mind series, which is based on A Course in Miracles, and it's a series that really gave birth to Pastor Yolanda's 50 Days to Fearless Living. We took and looked at, it was the 50th anniversary of the initial writing of the course, and we took the first 50 lessons and used them to bring forth a powerful series. Pastor Yolanda opened that series with "There's Got to Be Another Way," another or better way.
Another.
There's got to be another way. Powerful series. Then we have spiritual economics, which we're going to be doing a deeper study on starting next month. But we did a 4-week series on it. Check it out. It's very important as you're thinking about economics right now and what's going on in your life. And if you're fearful in any way about your financial situation or your prosperity situation as a whole. The Infinite Way, based on Joel Goldsmith. Again, these are beautiful things to look at, where he says there's a peace be still within our own consciousness, which will still every storm, right? This is what we must know and understand at this time in our life. You can go to that series. And then, of course, unconditional living. This is what we're really learning to be able to do, that we are no longer swayed by what's happening. We are no longer swayed by what 45 is doing. We are no longer swayed by what Congress passes or doesn't pass. We are no longer swayed by the decisions decisions that we have to make that may cause us to think that all is lost, but we can actually learn to live in all is well. And that comes from unconditional living. Another powerful sermon there that PY preached is the in-between, which I know so many people have loved and come back to over and over again. That series is powerful. Then in the All Is Well series in 2013, the eye of the storm. If we may be in a storm right now, but can we learn to be like the eye of the hurricane that's calm and still in the midst of the raging winds? Shut down your reactors, learning how not to be triggered and how to heal our triggers so that we can live from the top. And finally, we shared this on Facebook as well this week. I trained for this based on one of the guiding principles of CSC, equipping humanity to live our greatest lives. In truth, we have been equipped, whether you've been listening to or coming to CSC for one day, one or all 7 years. What we recognize is that we have been equipped to live our greatest lives. And so as we are in this moment of uncertainty and seeming insecurity, what we must remind ourselves is that I trained for this. I have tools. I know how to approach this situation. And it's very vital that we live in that place. So I encourage you, go to this blog post, grab the links, and watch these series. I think what we'll also do is create a YouTube playlist of these, but I wanted to make sure that first we had the blog post so that we could push that out to as many people as possible. Let me go back to the slide. I think there's one more thing I wanted to remind folks about. Oh, yes, of course. And as I said, we're going to be studying spiritual economics, an in-depth 12-week study, and that starts next week. We're going to be focusing in on how we thrive in and under all conditions. PY and I are excited about this. We're treating this as a masterclass because what would have happened and what the initial plan was to teach this as a paid class, as we normally would. So, you know, the value of this class is invaluable, but the cost of the class would have been about $497 for 12 weeks. This class is going to be free to any and everyone. This class will be streamed every Sunday. We are going to be doing this work together. Your only responsibility is to show up, to get the book, to read each chapter with us week to week, and send in your questions. But if you want to thrive, because it is possible to thrive even in these current conditions, and if you want to understand how to shift out of fear back into faith, this is the series. This is the teaching. And so this is going to be a masterclass, and we're excited about just bringing our all and supporting you in remembering and knowing what is absolutely true. What is absolutely true. So again, I just want to make sure that everybody knows about this prayer, the blog posts, which is very important. And yes, see, unfortunately, we can't prevent people. I'm gonna close the chat. Because I see there's some things going on here. So we're going to do that.
Yeah, let's close the chat.
So I'm sorry, y'all. I'm just going to prevent everyone from chatting. So no one can chat. I apologize for these ugly things that are being shared. But unfortunately, this is a public space, and so people are able to come in here, but we just shut that down because we can't have that. So whomever you are, as you are in here right now, we love you.
We sure do.
We see you. We know that there is God in you. We know that there is good in you. Absolutely. And we will not throw you away. We will not kick you out, but we will not allow you to create an experience for our brothers and sisters that is unlike love. You are welcome to stay here. And you're welcome to receive this love. And I pray that this love that is in me speaks to the love that's in you and rises something beautiful back up in you, because you are divine. You are holy. You are not this thing that you're doing right now. You are not this way that you're being right now.
Absolutely. And so we all take a breath into that knowingness that whoever and wherever we are, God is.
Yes, yes.
God is in every one of us, whether we recognize it or not. Love, as we breathe, is in every one of us, whether we recognize it or not. And so we hold the consciousness of love, that every breath, whomever you are, you take, you are reminded that that breath is the breath of God, and it is breathing right where you're breathing. Yeah. It is beating right where your heart is beating. It is knowing that there is some reason for your need, and there's some answer that you seek, that this message, this ministry, this day, this moment is bringing to you. Yeah.
Yes, yes.
And so we speak love, light, truth, peace, and ease over everyone who is here now, everyone who will see this message, hear this meditation, and know the truth of life. Because we know who and what we are, and we want you to know the same.
Absolutely.
And with that, I say happy anniversary, everyone.
Yes, yes.
7 years. 7 years of knowing the truth, speaking the truth, living the truth, and seeing our community grow from one person that said yes, 2 people that said yes, to a whole community of people that come together every Sunday all over the world.
Yes.
All over the world. We are so grateful for you, grateful to know you, grateful to experience you every week.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It feels so good. As you all know, we are going to properly celebrate when we are able to properly celebrate, but we cannot let this Sunday go by without acknowledging that this is now the 7th year. This marks officially the 7th year of CSC. It is a beautiful thing. It's amazing to me to think back to 2013 and to think back to where we are, where we were then and where we are now, and how what was in our minds we are living, what was in the vision we are seeing, and on a very visceral level, from a spiritual perspective, we saw you all, we saw your faces, we heard your voices, we heard your asking. What's funny to me, I can't count how many people have come to CSC and said to us, "You don't understand, I was asking for this." And we're like, "Yeah, we know," because we kept hearing it, and it was like, "Are you going to say yes to this or not?" Right? It's powerful, it's beautiful. And so we love and appreciate you all. And again, we're just looking forward to celebrating together, celebrating properly, because it's going to be an amazing time. One, to just celebrate being in each other's presence, and also to celebrate 7 years of the God experience, 7 years of celebrating the magnificence of God in us, through us, and as us, 7 years of celebrating this truth as one family, awakening the world to the presence of God in and all around us, equipping humanity to live our greatest lives, embodying unconditional love, and serving all creation. It's a powerful thing. It's a beautiful thing. I'm seeing more folks are joining in on Instagram. Hey, y'all. Good to see you. So in this moment, PY is going to lead us in our meditation for today. And so I'm going to give her some background music.
And, imagine the CSC band.
and we'll get into this meditation. OMG.
And so in this moment, let us bring ourselves. I invite you wherever you are. I invite you wherever you are to stop what you are doing. I invite you wherever you are to take a seat, a comfortable seat. I invite you wherever you are to let go of what preceded this moment. I invite you wherever you are to come into this room, to come into this vibration of truth. I invite you, because the invitation is always open from the mind of God and the heart of God, your mind and your heart. So let us find a place in our comfort, closing our eyes to the external world and the external conditions. And just notice the breath, take a breath. Notice the breath right where it is. We make no effort, no attempt to control the breath. We just notice the breath.
I can have joy, I can feel peace and bliss.
We remind ourselves that we are connected to one another, connected to our breath, connected to our brothers and sisters over the planet, those who are experiencing right now, those who love and love those who are experiencing. Allow the breath to take us. Allow the breath to take us.
I can have joy, I can feel float away on the joy and the bliss. I can feel it, all of this bliss. I'm going into the joy.
Make our way into the joy.
I want more of this joy is within.
And from this place, at the center of our being, we begin to
So
breathe
much
together.
peace. I can have joy. I can feel peace.
Inhaling through the low belly, holding it there.
I'm open to the joy. I'm open to the
Open the mouth
peace.
and let everything
And
come in.
feeling all this bliss. I can have joy.
All the way into
Let it
the
take me there.
Inhale, all the way up through the rib cage now. Expanding the front and the sides and the back of this body, this shape, this temple. Hold it there. Open the mouth and let it all go. Empty beyond where you think there's air. There is no air, no room. Release. This time inhale all the way up through the heart. Heart space at the center of the chest. Expanding the front and the sides and the back, and allowing the heart to permeate the whole. Hold it there.
Feel the bliss.
Open the mouth and sigh. Release it. Let it go.
Relax your body and feel all of this bliss.
This time inhaling all the way up and through the heart. Hold it at the top. Open the mouth and let it go. A couple more rounds of this deep breath on your own, each time connecting more fully to the heart. Taking a pause at the top, holding and then releasing.
Let each breath take you into the bliss. Joy, peace, bliss.
Each breath relaxing every part of this vessel alone. Last time together, inhale and all the way up through the heart. Holding it there. And then sending with our release energy out through every cell, every fiber of our being. From this point on, we will breathe in and out through the nose, lightly closing the lips and letting the cycle of inhale and exhale remind us of our connection that can never be severed. From this heart-centered space, imagine a ball of light there. Small, white light. With each inhale, we feel that light being more activated, coming online now. With each exhale, expanding throughout every cell of our body. Inhale, drawing more of that light into ourselves. And exhale, making room, expanding. And in our mind, expanding and feeling the room that we occupy. Inhale, drawing that energy in. And now taking that light out beyond the four walls of wherever we are. Inhale, drawing it in. And as this light goes out beyond the walls, we imagine this light radiating a green color now. Waves and waves of green healing light. With each inhale and exhale, drawing in and going out to cover the planet. And then returning to us what we need. And from this heart-centered place, we go into the silence. We go in to the depths of our being. We go into the joy, the peace, and the ease. Seeing the world slow and receive. Seeing our lives open and those of everyone on the planet. We just release now. And we let every voice, every sound that is unlike this sound, we let it go, making room for more God, more breath, more healing, more connection, and ultimately more bliss. Relax into the knowing now.
I can have joy, I can feel peace and bliss. I can have joy, I can feel peace and bliss. I can have joy, I can feel peace and bliss. I can have joy, I can feel peace and bliss. I can have joy, I can feel peace and bliss. I can have joy, I can feel peace and bliss. I can have joy, I can feel peace and bliss. I can have joy, I can feel peace and bliss. I can have joy, float away on joy and the bliss. I can have joy, I can feel it, all of His bliss. I'm going into joy. I can feel peace and bliss. I want more of this.
Their eyes closed, our connection maintained.
I can have joy, joy,
Just sit in the bliss.
and so much peace. I can have joy, I can feel peace and bliss.
Their eyes still
I'm
closed.
open to the joy.
Maybe we
I'm
breathe
open
more
to
deeply
the
now, taking in that
peace
energy that we
and
send out,
feeling all this bliss. I can have joy.
activating the body now,
Let it take me there and bliss.
maintaining the connection always. With each deep breath, we aliven this physical container more. Maybe we wiggle the fingers and the toes. Maybe we bring the shoulders by the ears and then relax them nice and gently. But from wherever we sit, we bring the palms together and thumbs pressing lightly into the sternum and pausing, noticing the connection, heart-centered. And nice and easy, we bow the chin towards the fingertips,
Relax your body and feel
allowing the spine to align, open, and receive. From this place of awareness, we remember we could not be more worthy or more loved by this universe. Breathing that in. Now slowly flutter the eyes open, taking a point in front of you.
and feel bliss.
Nice soft gaze.
Let each breath take you
Inhale,
into the
raise the chin, raise the gaze. Namaste.
peace, bliss, joy, peace.
yes, yes, yes. Beautiful. Thank you, PY. Always powerful, always good to tap back into the feeling and the knowingness of bliss. So we are here in the final week of our series, You Better Work, Truth Principles for Successful Living. This has been a 12-week series based on the 12 chapters of the book, Working with the Law by Raymond Hollowell, right? It's actually 11 principles. But we started, we did a 12-week series, so there's 11 principles. And so in this last section in part 3, we looked at the law of forgiveness, the law of sacrifice, and the law of obedience. And today we're going to look at the law of success. In week 1, we started with hold no one prisoner, which is the law of forgiveness. Pastor Yolanda brought us the message in week 2, make the sacrifice of fear, which is based on the law of sacrifice. And week 3, last week, with my whole heart, I'll agree, which is based on the law of obedience. So here we are in this final law, the law of success. And it's interesting because on one level, you could hear that like, oh, they're teaching on the law of success and people are dying all over the world. They're teaching about success and there's a global pandemic and we're staying at home. Like, why would we even want to do anything like that? That would seem tone deaf and irresponsible. But what I know to be true is that the laws as they work are always in operation. And so when we think about the law of success, this is not about success as in, you know, how to get a new car or your dream home, but it's to understand how this law is working and how we are always successful, whether it's wanted or unwanted, right? And so one of the things that's interesting this week, as many people are finding their own way and trying to manage what's going on right now, we see a lot of jokes. We see a lot of memes, right? Talking about COVID-19 or coronavirus, AKA the Rona, right? Whatever it may be. And many of you, I'm sure, know the teacher from The Secret, John Assaraf. He's the teacher in The Secret who talked about, I had this wonderful story about his vision board and how he had put this home on his vision board. And then as he's unpacking boxes, he pulls out an old vision board with his kid and he realizes that the house he's living in is the house that he had put on his vision board and he didn't realize it. Well, this guy, John Assaraf, posted this meme the other day that said, "Dear 2020, none of this blankety blank was on my vision board," right? Talking about what's going on right now. And while I get that that's funny, we also know and we teach and remind everyone as much as possible that the subconscious doesn't have a sense of humor because there's some things underneath it that suggest that what was on your vision board can't happen because of the coronavirus, right? Which isn't true, right? And so we'll talk about how we have to understand law and the law of success. But what's absolutely true is that everyone is impacted in one way or another by this global pandemic. It's impacting everyone. Particularly, it is having a significant economic impact around the world from people from all walks of life. And I've noticed that there's been a lot of advice that's being given right now on what people should or could be doing, right? Almost immediately when the stay-at-home orders happen, people are like, you're going to be at home. Now you can write that book. You can write that song. You know, you can paint that painting, right? Which is, for me, rooted in that work, hustle, grind kind of thing. You know, some people are entrepreneurs are saying, you know, kick your business in overdrive, extend your hours, work 12 days. There are all these memes that are outlining these schedules for entrepreneurs and small business owners that they should be doing now. I get that most of this advice is well-meaning. I get that most of this advice is well-intentioned, but it's also short-sighted. And so as I was, you know, looking and listening and perusing what's going on out there in the world of social media, two people that I love did an Instagram live earlier this week. Damon John and Barbara Corcoran, two amazing entrepreneurs. They have both done amazing things in their lives. And of course, they're on the hit show Shark Tank. But it was interesting to me in listening to what they had to say. They offered some very practical advice to entrepreneurs, and they also offered some very thoughtful advice. And particularly, it was something that Barbara Corcoran said. I walked away with this one word, and it was regroup. And she said, what everybody needs to be doing, she said, I'm not going to tell everybody, or tell anybody, to go do and work harder and do all that. She said, no. She said, now is the time to take a step back and regroup, right? And I love that word, right? Webster's defines regrouping as to form into a new grouping, to reorganize for a renewed activity. And so Barbara was very clear and specific with the word of caution that in this early moment, it's not that we won't do anything. It's not that we won't be active, but right now, when we're in the early moments of this thing and we've only been home for, 10 days or 14 days, depending on what it is, now is the time to regroup, not to run out and start doing a whole bunch of stuff. And it's interesting to me because I think this helps us as we understand the law of success, because I believe that understanding this law is important and beneficial for this moment in history. Fully understanding and applying this law with conviction is how the things on your 2020 vision board actually will manifest. So first we have to ask ourselves, well, what is success, right? What are we even talking about? What does it mean to be successful? One of my absolute favorite definitions of success is success is the progressive realization of a worthy ideal. That's Earl Nightingale. And I love that because that doesn't have anything to do with money. That doesn't have anything to do with things. What Earl Nightingale says in his teaching, he says that the teacher that wanted to be a teacher and became a teacher is successful, right? Because she or he or they progressively realized this goal, this thing that unfolded. And so what success really points us to is not the amassing of things, but it is the continual unfolding of who and what we are, the continual unfolding of our desires. Now, if we're asked, people would give all kinds of definitions about success, but generally speaking, we will always hear that sort of external point of view and how we deem someone successful. She's successful, he's successful, and it's based on what they've amassed. It's based on what they've attained. It's based on the accumulation of status and things. But Raymond Hollowell says something very different. Real success, however, is something more than this. We do not define it in terms of money, position, fame, or wealth, although it may include these things. True, genuine success of the largest kind lies in the results obtained, harvest reaped, and distributed so that our fellow beings at large are benefited and the world enriched. Yet for the purpose of our lesson, the term success will be interpreted in a more individual sense as meaning personal advancement and increase, and the favorable termination of anything attempted. He goes on, the young and old alike are entitled to advance. To be true to yourself and to the law which governs you, you must simply advance, for advancement is success. It is the law's intention that you shall move forward. And so I want to focus in on two pieces here. First, on the macro level, he writes that true, genuine success of the largest kind lies in the results obtained, harvest reaped, and distributed so that our fellow beings at large are benefited and the world enriched, right? So on the macro level, we have to understand what success is, means that everybody wins, right? Success has to do with everybody benefiting, right? Success has to do with the entire world being enriched. And so if you want to look at as a country successful, right, or even as a planet successful, then you would want to look from that place. That's the true, genuine success, right? Or even when we look at entities or corporations or companies or ideas and inventions, one of the measures of the success of those things are the extent to which it benefits and enriches the world, right? Our fellow beings at large. That's what's important. That's success. But then he takes us to the micro. Success will be interpreted in this lesson in a more individual sense as meaning personal advancement and increase. Now, I said Earl Nightingale says that success is the progressive realization of a worthy ideal. And so here Hollowell is echoing the same thing, personal advancement and increase. And he says, it is the law's intention that you shall move forward. So what I would whittle this down to for us to understand today is that success is living forward. right? You can write that down. That's what success is. If I'm living forward, I'm successful. I am operating in success. I am operating in the energy of success. And more importantly, I'm working with and aligned with the law of success. And for me, the reason that that was important for me, saying success is living forward, because it reminded me of a song that I've written called Living Forward. And in the lyrics, it says very simply, I'm living forward, living in possibility. Life is much sweeter since I've discovered the real me. I'm living forward, no longer following the crowd. I'm living forward. Nothing can stop me now. See, that's the affirmation of success. That's the affirmation of a successful person. And further, when we go into to look at the definitions, as Hollowell explains success, he writes, success is bringing oneself and one's action to a standard higher than the ordinary human standard. This is why I wrote in the song, no longer following the crowd. I'm living forward, no longer following the crowd. I'm living forward. Nothing can stop me now. But he goes on and he says, most all the failures and defeats in life are due to mental blindness. When the heart is right, the head thinks right. Now, I love this, right? Because what he's saying here, when we say that the heart is right, what we're talking about is our emotional life, our vibrational life, right? And so in this moment, what's happening right now, many people's hearts are in fear. Many people's hearts are in worry. Many people's hearts are in anger, or in insecurity, and in uncertainty. But to take this idea from Hollowell, then when the heart is in fear, the mind is in fear. And when the heart is in worry, then the mind is in worry. When the heart is in anger, the mind is in anger. And when the heart is in insecurity or uncertainty, the mind is in insecurity and uncertainty. And so that's not living forward. In that moment, we're not, because our heart is supporting us in thinking the thing that we do not want. Now, Hollowell writes further in the text, most of us could meet our obligations if it were not for fear of some kind that tells us differently. We hypnotize ourselves into a belief which incapacitates our power. Fear clouds our vision. It benumbs our faculties. It paralyzes our mental forces, which must be free and active if we are to avert calamity. When man's or humanity's mind is confused by fear, we are in no condition to accept an opportunity. God does not give us the spirit of fear, but of courage and a sound mind. So this is very important when we understand if success is living forward, if success is personal advancement and increase, and we recognize that the only way to live in that place, the heart has to be right so that the head can be right. Our emotional vibrational life has to be right, and so that our thinking and mental and belief life can be right. So it's important that we understand that if in this moment, even when we're joking about, I saw another meme a friend of mine shared, those black eyed peas didn't do nothing for 2020, right? So we eat black eyed peas in the new year. That's supposed to mean money and good luck. And so they were joking that the black eyed peas didn't do nothing, right? Well, again, these jokes are rooted still in fear. They're rooted in worry. They're rooted in doubt. They're rooted in all of these things. And as Hollowell says, fear clouds our vision. It benumbs our faculties. It paralyzes our mental forces. And when we are confused by fear, we are in no condition to accept opportunity. Because here's the thing, no matter what's going on in the world, there will still be opportunity. No matter what's going on right now. So a certain door has closed, but there are infinite doors. A certain number of doors may have closed. There are infinite doors. But if our heart is in this place of fear, doubt, worry, or anger, or any of these emotions, what they are doing is blocking us from even being able to see and more further accept opportunity. So this is why Barbara Corcoran invites us so beautifully to regroup. We need to regroup right now. Please do not go out and do, and work. Because you're not going to be in alignment with the law of success. Because for many people right now, our hearts are in a place of fear. Our hearts are in a place of panic. Our hearts are in a place of uncertainty. Our hearts are in a place of worry. That's okay, because you can regroup, right? This is the time to gather and collect yourself. This is the time to gather and collect your heart, and your mind will follow. Take that in. That might be something you even need to say to yourself day to day as you're moving through the day and you see Trump's latest press conference or whatever it is. Gather and collect yourself. Let me gather my heart. Let me gather my heart, because my heart's in fear right now. My heart's in anger. My heart's in worry. My heart's in being pissed off. My heart is, I don't feel I'm safe. I don't feel I'm secure. Let me gather my heart. When you gather your heart, your mind will follow. Now, in this text and in this chapter, and I encourage you all to read it because there's so much more in this chapter, I can't highlight it all. But in this text, Hallowell gives us the simplest key to living forward. Because here we are in this moment, right, in time where we can, and I want you to hear this, regroup doesn't mean retreat. Can y'all hear that? Regroup does not mean retreat, right? Because what some people will do is retreat and go back to what's perceived safety. And they're going to go back to the starting point, wherever you are on the journey towards the thing it is that you desire. Stop where you are, gather and collect yourself, and then keep moving forward from that vantage point. So regroup is not retreat. But the simplest key to living forward, he offers in the text, and it's so simple that it's missed by many. It's so simple that people make funny memes about 2020 in order to feel better about what appears to not be going right. It's so simple that even some of you today will hear me share it and dismiss it as too simple. And so I want to share with you what he writes in the text, and then we'll talk a little bit more about it. The real secret consists in moving forward. And that peculiar mental attitude which promotes this constant progress is the ruling factor in the art of success. No person can succeed who is not imbued with the desire to advance. Right. And that reminds me partially of a few weeks ago when we looked at the law of non-resistance, and we talked about being like water and how the stream continues to follow along that path, knowing that it's going to the river, it's going to the ocean. And so there may be rocks in its way, there may be trees in its way, but it continues to keep its mind focused on where it's going. And so it doesn't resist the obstacles, it moves around them, it moves over them, it flows, knowing that it's always going back to its source, back to its goal. No person can succeed who is not imbued with the desire to advance. So that's why we don't retreat. We regroup from where we are and we keep moving forward. He goes on. Investigating the lives of successful men and women, we find a very striking fact. We find a common quality that is responsible for their success, which consists of a constructive state of mind. Simple as it may seem, in most every case, the difference which decides success or failure is the ruling mental attitude. Now, here's the simple key. The positive mental attitude of a man or woman who thinks she or he can, in contrast with the negative attitude of another who thinks they can't, is practically the only difference between the one who succeeds and the one who fails. The former learns the truth and discovers that they can do things, and the idea liberates their sleeping energies, stirs them into activity, thrills them with the desire to advance, inspires them to get things done, and so they move into success. Did you hear the secret? The secret is embodied in a very simple statement, a very simple phrase: I can. Take that in and write it down. See, because it's interesting, right? The mind that jokes about this wasn't on my vision board in 2020, it's also subtly rooted in I can't. This happened now, so I can't. These circumstances are here, so now I can't. Many of you, I'm sure, are familiar with the very famous quote from Henry Ford: whether you think you can or you can't, you're right. But what we must understand about I can, and why it's powerful and why it's simple, is because I can draws upon the law of success. Hallowell writes, the desire to advance implies the power to advance. See, when you say I can, what you're also saying is that there is something that will enable me to do this thing, to be this thing, to have this thing, to have the experience that I desire. That is the law as absolute in its actions as any science. The fact that you desire to succeed is evidence that you have the power to succeed. Otherwise, you would not have been urged to aspire successward. You cannot aspire to succeed unless you have the power to succeed. Desire creates the power. Power inspires the mind of the individual, and success is the result of that inspiration rightly applied. So in this moment of what we see going on outside of ourselves, what we must tap into is the power of I can. Now, this is important. When we say I can does not mean or does not equal I know how. See, that's one of the reasons why many of us won't say I can't, because we can't get to I can if we don't know how, and we think that how is up to us. But if you have a neighbor with you, you might not, but just pretend you do. Tap your neighbor on the shoulder and say, the how is not my business. See, the how ain't your business. And so we are keeping ourselves, blocking ourselves from I can, which is the power that draws upon the power, right? The desire to advance implies power. And he goes on, he says, desire creates the power. Power inspires the mind. Again, we said the heart is right, mind is right, inspires the mind of the individual, and success is the result of that inspiration. Inspiration, inspire means God breathed. That means it comes from the divine, from within you, right? So when we say I can, we are not saying I know how. So you can let that go. I can does not equal I have this figured out. I can does not equal I see every step and I know how it's going to go. This is why Dr. Martin Luther King says so famously, faith is taking the first step, even though you don't see the whole staircase. I can does not equal I'm smart enough to do this. Because see, that's what's happening for many people right now. It's like, okay, I've seen other things, I've experienced this, but I don't know how to move now. I've never seen anything like this. I've never had an obstacle like this. And so the last thing that I would say is I can, because my little lowercase I can't. But you see, I can draws upon the law, this thing that we've been teaching and reading and talking about since January. I can draws upon that power. I can because God can. Lord, have mercy. I can because the law can. I can because there is an infinite supply. I can because the law responds to my thinking. I can because no condition is above this law. No condition is above this law. I can because God can, because the I am that I am can. The I will be what I will be can. And so that's the place and the space that we learn to live in. And this is why I can is simple yet powerful. Because it's also interesting, as we talked about obedience last week, I can moves you into the yes. I can moves you into this place of surrender because, again, you're not saying I can based on your strength. You're not saying I can based on your know-how. You're not saying I can based on what you read or what you studied. You're saying I can based on your relationship with this thing we call the law. What is the law? It is God. What is the law? God, it is love. What is the law? God and love. It is God in action. And I'm in relationship to it, and I understand it, and I know it is, and I know it is in all circumstances. I know it is in all conditions. And so in this moment, I can because God can. And so then I tap into this place of success. No, whatever you put on your vision board or the goals you wrote out and the way you thought it was going to happen, no, it ain't going to happen like that, obviously. But does that mean you can't? Nope. It just means that the law is going to use some other means, some other way to bring forth that good which you desire. And wonderfully enough, I choose to live in the space of, oh, maybe my thinking was just too small. I don't know what anything is for. I don't really even know what's truly going on. So maybe my vision board was a little too small. So let me just rest, relax, and rely on this power to bring forth the good. I mean, do you realize that, like, say you have a monetary goal for the year, one client could accomplish your monetary goal. If you move into the space, one gig could accomplish your monetary goal if you live in this space. I mean, that's really the truth. And so we're only 3 months into a 12-month year, and we're like, oh Lord, my whole vision board is my goals are just gone. Now, I love what Hollowell says here. Catch the spirit of the words, I can. And you have the key to the successful attitude. Know you can succeed and proceed to think, live, and act in that strong conviction. Again, knowing that you can succeed, not knowing how, but knowing that you can, knowing that you will, knowing that you must. You may search everywhere, anywhere to discover the mystic secret of success, only to find that in the end, it is all contained in these two little words, I can. In all circumstances, you are greater than the things or the conditions. If not actually, you are potentially. Hear that. That's powerful right there. In all circumstances, you are greater than the things or the conditions. If not actually, you are potentially. Whatever you aim at, be certain of winning. Aim high, aim well, and your mistakes will come few and far between. Keep the I can attitude. Affirm it constantly. You will succeed. You are bound to win. And so I want to close with this. I was reminded of something that I heard some years ago that said champions are made in the fourth quarter. And I absolutely disagree with that. It's not true, right? And it's a sports analogy. People use sports all the time for analogies. Champions are not made in the fourth quarter, because in the fourth quarter of a game, whether it's football or basketball or some other sport, if you're in crunch time and the game is tied or close, there's not many minutes left in the game, what you're drawing on is your practice. Champions aren't made in the fourth quarter. Champions are made in their preparation. Champions are made in their practice, because that's what you have to draw on in that moment. And so it's as we're thinking about the sports analogy, as I just said, we're only 3 months into the year. First off, we're only in the first quarter of a 4-quarter year. And so there's no reason to give up in the first quarter. There's no reason to think or affirm or say that all is lost in the first quarter. Yes, yes. But more importantly, as I said, champions are made in practice. And Hollowell writes something beautiful. He says, practice will ensure efficiency. Use will bring forth results. Success, therefore, is within the reach of every aspiring man, woman, child, human. It is available to all of us. So the title of this text is very clear: Working with the Law. We've moved through these chapters. We've read and studied together. We started with what is the law, and then we looked at each law: the law of thinking, the law of supply, the law of forgiveness, non-resistance, obedience, right? The law of attraction. We looked at all of these laws, but now it's time to practice and use it. He said, practice ensures efficiency, and use will bring forth results. And so here we are now in a moment where we get to work with the law. We get to practice and make use. And that starts very simply in this moment by embodying, as he says, catching the spirit of the words, I can. It's simple. It's almost deceptively simple, but it is the absolute truth, because it taps you into, again, not your little I. That cannot do, it doesn't do anything. Your eye does not cause the sun to shine. Your eye does not spin this earth round in orbit. Your eye doesn't even start your heart. Your eye does not wake you up each morning. Your eye does not turn on and off your digestive system. But there is a power, there is a presence, there is something beautiful and wonderful that is working in, through, and as you. And that thing is the I am that I am. It's the divine presence. It is the law. For even your digestive system is subject to this law. Even your circulatory system is subject to this law. Every aspect of our being is working with this law unconsciously. Thank God, right? Because if our fear started to, completely shut down our bodies, we'd be in trouble, right? We know that fear can affect us physically, but it can't completely shut us down, because good is always getting in, right? This divine battery, this divine power is flowing through us. So I encourage you, wherever you are in your thought, wherever you are in your thinking and your process, and as you're looking at the year, as the year is not what any of us expected, none of us planned this or planned on this or planned for this. I wore this t-shirt on purpose because I wanted to send this message out to each and every one of you. Stay inspired. And so we live in this vibration of I can. Knowing that I can does not equal I know how. The how is not our business. I can does not equal I'm smart enough. You're not. But there is a divine intelligence. There is a divine wisdom that flows in through and as us that has us looking like geniuses. But let's be clear on what the genius is, what the wisdom is. This is why our elder brother Jesus said, I of myself can do nothing. I of myself am not brilliant, but there is this thing called brilliance that operates in, through, and as me. And as I permit it to flow, it appears that this human form is something, but it's not. I'm clear about the power that is flowing in, through, and as me. And so we have this awesome opportunity right here and right now to demonstrate that power, to demonstrate it in, through, and as our lives, to demonstrate it in, through, and as our community, to demonstrate it in, through, and as our nations, and of course, to demonstrate it on our planet. And so with that, I invite everybody to just take a deep breath in, and we exhale, and we breathe in, and we breathe out. There is one mind, only one power, only one presence that is working in all, through all, and as all. That mind is my mind now. That mind is your mind now. That life is my life now. That life is your life now, for we are one with it and one of it. And I recognize that we can never be separate from it. It is right here, right now. Every space that we are in, that we occupy, is filled and overflowing with God, with good, with love, with infinite possibility. And because this space is filled with infinite possibility, I affirm I can. From this place of awareness, I recognize that I can have it. I can be it. I can do it. And from that place of awareness, I stand with you, my sister. I stand with you, my brother, in the power of I can. I stand in the inspiration of I can, and we catch the spirit of these simple words, this simple idea, for we recognize that I can because God can. I can because there is a law that is always in operation. I can because there is a law that is moving in, through, and as our lives right here and right now, that is taking what seems to be unwanted, that is taking what seems to be ugly, that's taking what seems to be disturbing, that is taking what seems to be uncertainty and molding it. It is molding it right now through the power of my word and the power of my thoughts, that situation, this entire situation that is external to us, is now being molded. For I declare and decree that nothing but good can come from this. Nothing but good can come from this. And it is not based on what I see. It is based on what I know. It is based on what I know within myself. It is based on what I know of the law. It is based on what I know of this universal good that is always seeking to express in, through, and as our lives. So right here and right now, I say yes. I say yes to being a channel and a vessel of universal good. Yes. I say yes to being a channel, a vessel, and expression of universal good. Yes. I say yes to being a channel, a vessel, and an expression of I can, I will, I must. It is done. It is done. It is done right here and now in consciousness. It is done. It is done right here and now in my heart. And that is, as it's done in my heart, it is done in my mind. It is done right here and now in your hearts. And as it is done in your hearts, it is done in your mind. So it is with joy. It is with thanksgiving. It is with gladness. It is with gratitude that I release this prayer, knowing that all is complete and that this word is complete, yes, that this prayer is complete. It is done. And from that place of awareness, we say amen.
Amen.
Ashe.
Ashe.
And so it is.
So it is.
So it is. Thank you, God. Thank you, God. Thank you, God. Woo. All right. So in this moment, it is time for giving. If you have not already done so, because I know people are giving at all different times in different ways, you can go to our website, celebrationsc.org. Scroll down to the giving section and give what feels good. Think about your joy number. And we've been talking about this in the last few weeks, and we're going to dig deeper as we talk about it next week. But please ensure that no matter what your current financial situation is, that you're giving something. if you give $1, if you give $5, you want to keep your hand open, right? You want to remain open to receive. If you always give, you will always have. And it's a powerful principle that my life has proven to me, right? I would not say this, I would not share this if I didn't know it to absolutely be true. But imagine, for instance, right? Imagine you had 5 apple seeds, right? And you're like, oh, well, I really need to eat, but I don't want to give away these seeds. I don't want to give up these seeds. But we know that in order to eat, you would have to plant one of the seeds. I'm not saying plant all the seeds. You have to plant one of the seeds in order to get the tree that's then going to give you more. That's the principle. It's all written right in nature. We experience it and we see it all the time, right? We know that's how it works. And so in the same way, don't give all your seeds. Please don't. Lord, have mercy. Please don't do that. But find your joy number. And whatever that number is that you feel good about, give that, right? And be consistent about that. And again, we're going to talk more next month and really, looking at money and our consciousness. And I'm sure we'll be healing a lot of thoughts and a lot of beliefs as it relates to prosperity and as it relates to money and as it relates to the economy and as it relates to what the stock market is doing or not doing and bull or bear markets. We're going to look at a whole bunch of beautiful things related to that. Also, I didn't give the text to give number. If you want to text to give, the number is 347-744-9500, 347-744-9500. And texting to give, the minimum amount you can give is $10 because of the fees that are associated with the text to give. But you can go to the website and give whichever amount feels good to you. And so when we give from that place, when we give in love, when we give in joy, and operate in that space, giving our joy number, what do we affirm? All the money that I use returns to me multiplied. In a never-ending cycle. Of increase. And enjoyment. And with that, we are so happy and grateful for everyone joining us. We appreciate your love and your patience. I know a lot of people were texting me. I wasn't on my phone, but we got it figured out. We got it figured out. We appreciate it. Feel free to join us next week and check your email. If you're not already on the mailing list, you want to join the mailing list because we'll have to look at some things in terms of security. We'll probably put a password on the Zoom call. So if you want to be connected via Zoom, you'll have to have the password in order to do that. Again, we love y'all. Enjoy your Sunday. Have a good time. Eat something good. Stream something good, and love on your people. Zoom your people. FaceTime your people. Check in. Call. Text, right? And we're constantly praying for you. There's many things happening in the community. There have already been transitions of family members related to the virus. And so we're continuing to hold space for each and every one of you and hold the space as folks are moving through the grieving process, ultimately knowing that all is well.
All is well. And we love you all.
Yes,
and we'll see you again next week.
Next Sunday.
Oh, actually on Wednesday. Join us for the prayer call.
Wednesday morning.
7 a.m.
All right. Bye for now.
Love you all. Bye for now.
Yes.